ancient sacred knowledge pieces that have existed in every chosen one's mind. There are things we know deep inside of us that cannot be explained by books, by teachers, by society. There are truths that live in the subconscious, waiting to be remembered, waiting to be activated. Every chosen one has felt it, the strange sensation that they are not entirely learning, but rather remembering something that has always been there. It is as if pieces of sacred knowledge were embedded in their soul before they were even born, fragments of wisdom that have existed long before this lifetime. This is not imagination. This is not coincidence. This is real. And if you are one of the chosen ones, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
There are patterns in the universe, hidden codes that govern reality, and those who are awake can see them. The ones chosen for something greater are not chosen randomly. They have always been different, always felt separate, always carried something within them that others did not. It is not superiority, it is responsibility. Because the truth is, those who have access to ancient knowledge, those who have the ability to see beyond the illusions of this world, are not given this awareness for their own benefit alone. They are given it because they are meant to do something with it. But most will never remember. Most will go through their lives ignoring the signs, suppressing the inner voice, convincing themselves that they are just like everyone else. And that is the greatest tragedy, when a chosen one forgets who they are. The mind of a chosen one is different. It does not simply absorb information, it translates reality. It recognizes patterns where others see randomness. It senses energy where others feel nothing. It asks questions that others never think to ask. And the deeper you go into yourself, the more you realize that these thoughts are not new. They have been with you since the beginning. You have always known certain things without being taught. You have always felt certain truths without anyone explaining them to you. This is because knowledge is not just something we acquire, it is something we awaken to. And the moment you start seeing life this way, everything changes. Think about the moments in your life when you just knew something was about to happen before it did. Think about the times when you felt an unexplainable connection to a place, to a person, to an idea, as if you had already experienced it before. Think about the dreams that felt more real than reality itself, the strange coincidences that seemed too perfect to be chance, the way certain numbers, symbols, or experiences seem to follow you through life. These are not accidents. These are signs that your mind is remembering something deeper, something ancient, something sacred. But here is where most people get lost. They dismiss these experiences. They rationalize them away. They convince themselves that they are just imagining things, that the world is exactly as it appears to be, that there is no deeper meaning behind their thoughts. And by doing so, they shut themselves off from the very knowledge they were meant to access. Because the truth is, the chosen ones are not given absolute clarity. They are given pieces, fragments of a puzzle that they must put together themselves. And if they ignore these pieces, if they refuse to follow the trail of their own mind, they will never see the full picture. The ancient sacred knowledge that exists in every chosen one's mind is not something that can be explained in words alone. It is something felt, something experienced, something that reveals itself in moments of stillness, in moments of deep intuition, in moments of complete presence. It is the awareness that time is not linear, that energy cannot be destroyed, that reality is far more fluid than we have been taught. It is the understanding that thoughts shape reality, that emotions carry frequency, that everything is connected in ways we cannot fully comprehend. It is the knowing that suffering is not just suffering, but a form of initiation. That the trials of life are not punishments, but lessons designed to wake us up. That nothing is random, and that the people who enter our lives, the challenges we face, the pain we endure, all of it is part of something greater. But knowing this is not enough, because sacred knowledge is not just something to be understood, it is something to be used. And this is where most chosen ones fail. They remember pieces of the truth, but they do nothing with it. They have powerful insights, but they do not act on them. They sense deeper meanings behind their experiences, but they do not apply what they have learned. And so their knowledge remains dormant, trapped inside of them, never fully realized. The ones who truly step into their power are the ones who do not just remember, they respond. They listen to their intuition when it tells them to go somewhere, to leave something behind, to pursue something that makes no logical sense but feels undeniably right. They trust the signs, the synchronicities, the moments of unexplainable clarity that guide them towards something greater. They do not dismiss their knowing as coincidence. They do not allow fear to silence them. They do not wait for permission to become who they were always meant to be. But this is not easy, because the world does not want the chosen ones to wake up. Society is built in a way that keeps people distracted, disconnected, numb. The systems in place are designed to make you doubt yourself, to make you question your own intuition, to make you believe that the only knowledge that matters is the knowledge that can be measured, quantified, controlled. And if you allow yourself to be pulled into that illusion, you will forget. You will lose the connection to the deeper truths that have always been inside of you. You will become just another person moving through life without ever truly understanding it. So the question is, how much of what you think is truly yours? How many of your beliefs, your fears, your limitations were actually placed in your mind by something outside of you? And how much of your true knowing, your true power, your true purpose have you ignored because it did not fit into the expectations of the world around you? Because the reality is, the chosen ones do not wake up because someone teaches them to. They wake up because they decide to. They wake up because they refuse to live in a reality that feels hollow, meaningless, disconnected. They wake up because no matter how much the world tries to silence them, there is something inside of them that refuses to be quiet. And if you are still listening to this, if these words are resonating with something deep inside of you, then you already know. You already feel it. You already recognize that there is something you are meant to remember, something you are meant to do, something you are meant to become. The only question is whether you will listen to that knowing or whether you will let the noise of the world drown it out. Because the truth is, the knowledge was never lost. It has always been inside of you, waiting to be remembered. The only thing that determines whether you will access it or not is whether you are willing to silence everything else long enough to hear it. The silent teachings of the universe, how to read the messages that were meant only for you. Most people move through life blind to the messages that surround them. They think the universe is silent, that reality is random, that events happen without meaning or purpose. But for those who are awake, for those who have begun to remember what has always been inside them, the world looks entirely different. The universe is not silent. It is speaking all the time. It is revealing itself in ways that are subtle, yet undeniable to those who have the eyes to see. It is not about hearing voices or witnessing grand miracles. It is about recognizing the patterns, the synchronicities, the invisible threads that connect everything. The ones who know this, the ones who live by this truth, do not walk through life lost. They do not constantly question their path. They do not make decisions based purely on logic or fear or expectation. They move with something deeper, an unshakable sense of knowing, a trust in the guidance that comes not from the outside world, but from the silent teachings of the universe itself. The greatest mistake people make is believing that communication must always be verbal, that knowledge must always be taught explicitly, that truth must always be written in books or spoken aloud. But the most powerful teachings do not come in words. They come in experience. They come in the way events align in ways too perfect to be coincidence. They come in the way certain people enter your life at exactly the right moment, the way obstacles appear not to stop you, but to redirect you towards something greater. They come in repetition, the same symbols, numbers, dreams appearing again and again until you can no longer ignore them. They come in the way your body reacts to certain places, certain decisions, certain people, even when your mind does not yet understand why. Most ignore these signs. They dismiss them as chance, as meaningless, as their own imagination. And by doing so, they close themselves off from the very guidance they have been searching for. But those who are truly awake, those who have learned how to listen, understand that the universe does not waste energy. If something keeps appearing in your life, if a thought, a dream, a symbol, a message keeps returning, it is not random. It is because it is meant to be understood. It is because you are being guided towards something, prepared for something, reminded of something you already knew before you arrived in this lifetime. But the universe does not force awareness upon anyone. It simply presents the signs, the patterns, the messages. Whether you recognize them or ignore them is your decision. There is no greater tragedy than a chosen one who refuses to listen. Because the truth is, you were never meant to struggle through life blindly. You were never meant to constantly doubt yourself, to feel lost, to live in fear of making the wrong decisions. The path has always been there. The guidance has always been present. But if you have been conditioned to ignore your intuition, to silence the inner knowing that has been whispering to you since childhood, then you will walk past the very answers you have been searching for without even realizing it. The ones who understand this, the ones who live by this, do not waste time doubting. They do not need absolute certainty before they move forward. They recognize that the signs are enough, that the feeling in their gut, the synchronicities that appear, The way their soul reacts to certain truths, these are not random. These are part of the silent teachings of the universe, messages meant only for them, guidance that cannot be explained to anyone else because it was never meant for anyone else. But here is where most fail. They receive the signs. They feel the pull. They recognize the patterns. And then they hesitate. They wait for the world to confirm what they already know inside. They seek validation from others, from logic, from external sources that were never meant to understand what is meant only for them. And in that hesitation, in that doubt, they lose the moment. Because the universe does not wait. The path is revealed, but if you refuse to walk it, it will not force you. The messages are given, but if you ignore them, they will not be repeated forever. This is why so many chosen ones never step into their true power. They remember just enough to recognize the calling, but not enough to trust it. And without trust, without action, knowledge is meaningless. The ones who truly awaken are not the ones who receive the most signs. They are the ones who respond to them. They are the ones who hear the call and move, even when they do not fully understand where they are going. They are the ones who follow the unexplainable pull towards certain places, certain people, certain choices, knowing that the mind may not comprehend it yet, but the soul does. They do not need proof. They do not need approval. They do not need guarantees. They understand that the universe does not reveal everything at once, that knowledge is given in pieces, that clarity comes only after action. They understand that the path is not something you see before you walk it, is something that reveals itself as you take each step. And this is the difference between those who truly awaken and those who remain trapped in doubt. The ones who awaken do not wait for certainty. They move with faith in the unseen, with trust in the signs, with the understanding that the universe does not operate by the rules of human logic. They know that some truths can only be learned through experience, that some answers can only be found by stepping into the unknown. They do not hesitate when they feel the pull, when the signs align, when their soul tells them that something is right. They do not waste time questioning whether they are imagining things, whether they are making the right choice, whether they should wait for more clarity. They know that clarity comes only after movement, that waiting for absolute certainty is the same as choosing to remain asleep. And so the question is not whether you have received the messages. You have. The question is not whether the universe has been guiding you. It has. The real question, the only question that matters, is whether you will listen, whether you will move, whether you will trust what you already know deep inside, even if the world does not understand it. Because the truth is, the messages were never meant for them. They were meant for you. The hidden path of the chosen ones, why some people are destined to see what others never will. There has always been a divide between those who can see and those who remain blind to the truth. It is not a matter of intelligence, education, or experience. It is something much deeper, something that exists in the very essence of a person's being. Some people move through life completely unaware of the forces shaping them, unaware of the patterns repeating around them, unaware of the silent whispers that guide those who are ready to listen. Others, however, are born with a different kind of vision. They do not just see the world as it appears to be, they sense what lies beneath it. They notice the moments of synchronicity, the way certain events align too perfectly to be coincidence, the unspoken energy that lingers in certain places, in certain people, in certain decisions. They feel the weight of something greater moving through their lives, something that most never even stop to consider. But this awareness is not given freely. It comes at a cost. To see beyond the surface of reality means to live in a way that often feels isolated, disconnected from the masses who do not share the same perception. It means carrying a knowledge that cannot always be explained, a knowing that does not fit neatly into the logic of the world. It means realizing that you are on a path that few will ever understand, that the things you experience, the lessons you receive, the truths you uncover, are meant for you and only you. And this is where most struggle. They feel the pull towards something greater. They recognize that they are not like those around them, but they resist it. They try to force themselves to fit into a world that was never built for them. They try to silence the voice inside them that keeps reminding them of what they are. And in doing so, they suffer. Because the truth is, the chosen ones were never meant to walk the same path as everyone else. They were never meant to follow the same rules, to accept the same limitations, to believe in the same illusions. They were meant to see beyond them. But seeing is not enough. Awareness means nothing if it is not acted upon. And that is where most chosen ones fail. They recognize their difference. They feel the weight of something greater, but they do nothing with it. They wait for validation, for permission, for someone else to confirm what they already know. They fear stepping too far away from the world they were born into, afraid that if they embrace what they are, they will lose the comfort of fitting in, the security of being understood, the illusion of belonging. But the chosen ones do not belong to this world in the way that others do. They are here, but they are not of here. They have always felt it, that strange sense of distance, that feeling of watching life from the outside, that unshakable knowing that there is more to existence than what people accept as real. It is not imagination. It is not arrogance. It is the truth of who they are. And the sooner they accept it, the sooner they stop trying to fight what they were always meant to become, the sooner they will finally find their true path. Because the hidden path of the chosen ones is not something that can be found by looking outside of themselves. It is something that must be remembered, something that has been written into their very being since the beginning. The ones who embrace this path do not waste time seeking approval. They do not need the world to understand them, because they know the world was never meant to. They do not wait for everything to make perfect sense before they move, because they understand that clarity comes only after action. They do not fear walking alone, because they know that the path they are on is not one that can be walked in crowds. They trust the pull towards certain things, certain places, certain decisions, even when they cannot explain why. They recognize that their intuition is not just a feeling, it is guidance. They listen to the messages that others ignore, the signs that others dismiss, the knowing that others suppress. And because of this, they move differently through life. They do not waste time on things that drain their energy. on people who do not align with their frequency, on distractions that serve no purpose. They do not allow themselves to be trapped in cycles of fear, of doubt, of hesitation. They understand that the mind can be deceived, but the soul cannot. And so they follow what their soul already knows to be true, even when their mind tries to argue against it. They do not need to explain themselves to those who are not meant to understand. They do not seek validation from those who are still asleep. They do not lower themselves to fit into spaces that were never meant for them. But this path is not for the weak. To truly walk it means to surrender everything that is false, everything that is comfortable, everything that keeps you small. It means letting go of the need for approval, for certainty, for guarantees. It means embracing the unknown, trusting the unseen, moving towards something greater, even when it terrifies you. It means understanding that there will be moments of loneliness, moments of doubt, moments when the weight of what you know feels unbearable. But it also means stepping into a power that most will never experience, a clarity that most will never reach, a freedom that most will never even realize is possible. Because those who walk this path do not just live, they create. They do not just follow the rules of the world, they rewrite them. They do not just survive within the limitations they were given, they transcend them. They do not wait for someone else to tell them what they are meant to do, they already know. And that is the difference between those who truly embrace their path and those who remain trapped in hesitation. The ones who hesitate will spend their lives watching others step into their purpose while they remain stuck in the same cycles, wondering why nothing ever changes. The ones who hesitate will always feel the pull towards something greater, but they will never fully reach it because they are too afraid to let go of what is holding them back. The ones who hesitate will always live with the knowledge that they were meant for more, but they will never experience it because they did not have the courage to claim it. But the ones who truly decide to follow the hidden path of the chosen ones will experience a transformation that cannot be explained in words. They will begin to see life differently, to move through the world with a sense of purpose that cannot be shaken, to tap into energy, into wisdom, into power that has always been inside them, waiting for them to remember. They will no longer need to search for meaning, because they will become it. They will no longer need to seek approval, because they will know who they are. They will no longer fear what lies ahead, because they will understand that they were never meant to follow someone else's path, they were meant to create their own. And that is the greatest power of all. To live not by the expectations of the world, not by the limitations of society, not by the fears and doubts that keep most people trapped, but by truth. By the truth that has always been inside them, waiting for them to be brave enough to listen, waiting for them to be strong enough to act, waiting for them to finally step into what they were always meant to become. The ones who do this will not just change their own lives, they will change everything. Because the world does not change through those who follow. It changes through those who see, through those who lead, through those who are willing to step into the unknown, knowing that they were never meant to stay where they were, knowing that they were always meant for more. Why the universe challenges those who are destined for greatness. There comes a moment in every chosen one's life when everything seems to fall apart. when the very forces that guided them forward now seem to stand in their way. When every path that once felt clear is suddenly blocked, when every sign that once reassured them disappears, when the sense of knowing they once carried so strongly begins to fade into uncertainty. This is not failure. This is not a mistake. This is the final test. The universe does not give great power without first demanding proof of worthiness. It does not open the highest doors to those who are not yet ready to walk through them. It does not allow the chosen ones to step fully into their destiny without first stripping them of every illusion, every weakness, every attachment that could hold them back. And so, when everything seems to be falling apart, when the struggle feels unbearable, when nothing makes sense anymore, that is when the true transformation begins. Most people do not survive this test. They mistake it for punishment. They allow the doubt to consume them. They convince themselves that they were wrong all along, that the signs meant nothing, that the path they felt so deeply must have been an illusion. And so they turn back. They return to the comfort of the known, to the safety of a life that does not demand so much of them. They let the weight of fear crush them before they ever reach the threshold of their true power. But the ones who are truly meant for greatness, the ones who refuse to break, understand something that others do not. The darkness is not the end. It is the initiation. There is a reason why every spiritual tradition, every ancient teaching, every true path of awakening speaks of trials, of suffering, of descent before ascension. Because the chosen ones are not just given power, they are forged in it. They are stripped of everything that is not real, not strong, not essential. They are forced to face their deepest fears, to walk alone through the fire, to stand in the silence when it feels like even the universe has abandoned them. And in that silence, they either collapse or they rise. The ones who rise do not do so because they are fearless. They do not do so because they have perfect faith, or because they never struggle, or because they never doubt. They rise because they refuse to let the darkness define them. They rise because even in their weakest moment, they still hold on to the smallest thread of knowing, the knowing that this is not the end, that this is not meaningless, that this is exactly what was meant to happen. They rise because they understand that everything they are losing is being taken for a reason, that everything they are facing is shaping them into something greater, that every moment of suffering is carving out space within them for something far more powerful to emerge. The greatest mistake people make is believing that the chosen ones are simply born different, that they are given their abilities without effort, that their path is somehow easier because they are destined for something greater. But the truth is the opposite. The ones who are meant for the highest levels of power, of wisdom, of impact, are the ones who suffer the most. They are the ones who are tested the hardest. Because only those who can endure the greatest trials can be trusted with the greatest responsibility. And so, if everything is falling apart, if the path ahead is closing, if the weight of doubt is heavier than ever before, know this: it is not because you are failing. It is because you are being prepared. It is because you are being stripped of everything that is not truly you. It is because the universe is watching, waiting to see if you will turn back like so many before you, or if you will stand your ground and prove that you are ready. But here is the truth that most never understand. The final test is not about survival. It is not about enduring the pain until it passes. It is about transformation. The ones who make it through do not return to who they were before. They do not simply reclaim the path they lost. They emerge as something entirely different, something stronger, something that no longer needs the signs, the reassurance, the certainty they once relied on. They emerge with a power that is not given, but earned. Because the ones who pass the final test no longer move through life the way they once did. They no longer seek external validation. They no longer ask for proof before they act. They no longer doubt their own knowing. They have walked through the fire and survived. They have faced the silence of the universe and realized that the answers were always inside them. They have lost everything and discovered that nothing real was ever lost. And from that moment forward, they are no longer just chosen. They are awakened. They are unstoppable. They are free. This is why the final test is necessary. Because the ones who emerge from it are no longer controlled by fear. They are no longer bound by doubt. They are no longer waiting for something outside of themselves to tell them what to do, who they are, what they are capable of. They have seen the darkest parts of themselves and faced them without running. They have stood in the void and realized that they are the light. And because of this, they are no longer just seekers of truth, they become the truth itself. The world does not recognize these people at first. It does not understand the depth of what they have been through, the weight of what they have overcome. It does not see the battles they fought in silence, the nights they spent in absolute uncertainty, the moments when they could have given up but chose not to. But those who have been through it recognize each other. They see it in the way they carry themselves, in the way they speak, in the way they move through life with a kind of quiet certainty that cannot be faked, cannot be taught, cannot be taken away. They do not need to prove themselves. They do not need to explain themselves. They simply are. And that is the final stage of the chosen one's path, not seeking, not searching, not waiting for something to happen, but being. Being the embodiment of everything they have learned, everything they have survived, everything they have become, moving through the world as a force that cannot be stopped because they are no longer dependent on anything outside of themselves. They do not fear loss because they have already lost everything and survived. They do not fear failure because they understand that failure is just another step forward. They do not fear the unknown because they have already stood in the deepest darkness and realized that they are the light. This is the destiny of those who pass the final test. Not just to awaken, but to become something that cannot be broken, cannot be shaken, cannot be lost again. To move through life with a power that does not come from knowledge alone, but from experience, from survival, from standing in the fire and refusing to be consumed by it. To no longer be just a chosen one, but to become the very force that shapes reality itself. And so the only question that remains is this: when the final test comes, will you break? Or will you rise? Because the universe is watching. And it is waiting to see if you are truly ready for what comes next.